Hello everyone, Guillaume here, host of the E-commerce Wizards podcast, where I feature leaders in e-commerce and business. Today's guest is Nathan Hirsch, CEO and founder of EcomBalance. This is the second episode together, and today we'll be talking about selling an 8-figure business. So he can share some of his personal experience and wisdom if ever you're selling your business, what to pay attention to on this topic.
This episode is brought to you by MageMontreal. If a business wants a powerful e-commerce online store that will increase their sales, or to move piled up inventory to free up cash reserves, or to automate business processes to reduce human processing errors, our company MageMontreal can do that. We've been helping e-commerce stores for over a decade. Here's the catch. We're specialized and only work on the Adobe Magento e-commerce platform, also known as Adobe Commerce. We're among only a handful of certified companies in Canada. We do everything Magento related. If you know someone who needs design, support, training, maintenance, or a new e-commerce website, email our team at support@magemontreal.com or go to magemontreal.com. That's MAGE Montreal.com.
So Nate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be back.
Thanks for being here.
Cool. I mean, so to start, and I mentioned this in the last episode, and I'll repeat it again, the best decision we ever made was hiring a bookkeeper from day one of FreeeUp, of our business. And with our Amazon business before it, that's not what we did. We tried to do the bookkeeping ourselves, which was a mess. We tried dumping it on our account at the end of the year, which was not ideal. And we never got to the point where we were getting good monthly reports. So we learned from that. When we started FreeeUp, we hired a bookkeeper from day one. The month would end, we'd get an income statement, balance sheet, cash flow by the 10th and 15th, and we would make good decisions based on those numbers. Now, 4 years later, when we sold the business, that's what helped us pass due diligence. We were acquired by a company called The Hoth, Mark Hargrove, David Martin, two great entrepreneurs that I look up to a lot and that have been super nice to us. And they reached out, and their message was, hey, we buy businesses, we don't start them. We want to buy a freelance platform. We like FreeeUp, we use FreeeUp. We'd love to see if you guys would be interested in selling it to us. And we heard them out. They asked us a lot of questions on that initial call. Most of those questions were finance-based. And because we had a monthly finance meeting every single month, we reviewed our monthly reports from every single month for 4 years, we knew our numbers inside and out. We answered all those questions. And down the line, when they got to due diligence, everything that we told them on the phone matched exactly what was in our books. And that built a lot of trust early on in the process. So bookkeeping and strong bookkeeping is a big key to it. And if you talk to any broker, any M&A, whatever, they will tell you the same thing. You want to have clean books before you start to sell your business. And it's like the whole selling process is stressful enough. Even with clean books, it's even more chaotic without it.
Pretty sure it is. So, okay, what were like the key factor to maximize, lower, or increase the value of the company?
Sure. So, I mean, having clean books, obviously helpful. Cash flow positive business, very helpful. Recurring revenue and clients that stick around, an incredibly important piece of it. Another thing is just like the marketing assets of the company. At the time, we had a podcast. We had good SEO rating. We had tons of backlinks all over the web. We had lots of partners. We had a whole marketing department that was firing at all cylinders. Those are big things of it, big parts of it. And I think where a lot of people got wrong, and I remember talking to people about this, is I was kind of the face of FreeeUp, right? Like I would go on the podcast and stuff like that, but that part of it's very replaceable. Like the actual business ran without me. The processes, the matching freelancers, the customer service, the billing, all the business systems. Like you can always take a business and grow it with a different marketing strategy, removing me, putting in other marketing people. Like that's fairly easy. But if the actual business depended on me to talk to the customers and match the freelancers, that's where you run into issues. And that's where it makes things unsellable. So what allowed us to sell was that with the business processes were very good, even though the new people would take on a new marketing strategy.
Yeah. So to have the business owner totally separated from the delivery aspect, and you just focus on, marketing, face of the company, big relation, general direction of the company, and so on. Okay. Was there any mistakes that you, in hindsight is always perfect 2020, now that you see and say, hey, if we had done this before, I would have gotten a better valuation?
Well, a big part of our business was the software that held the marketplace together. And we started that with a very crummy software that did very little and built it up over time. And that helped us. No one else had that software. We didn't lease it to anyone. We weren't using other people's software for billing or matching or whatever. And I think one thing that we learned from that is that was a very valuable piece. And we probably could have doubled down on it even more. So for us, like with EcomBalance, we have a client portal we're building, and we have even more confidence in investing in that because we know it's going to help the company long term. And there were a lot of features that the new owners use that are built into the software that we had been talking about for years that in hindsight, we should have just invested the money and built it. So I think that the proprietary software component is something we learned a lot about.
Okay. And when your potential acquirer came and see you, like they always have a game plan in mind. They say like, okay, we're going to buy this foundations faster than building it ourselves, and we're going to bring it to the next level. Like, do you know what their gameplay was? It was just adding more resource and money, or was there something else going on here?
I mean, they bought a lot of different businesses, and I mean, they had a lot of experience like building marketing systems and making things more automated. And there were things that they implemented right away that we learned from. Like they took the business off Skype and moved it to Slack, and now we use Slack for every company that we start going forward. So there's small things like this to help automate the processes. And I think from the marketing side, I mean, they own marketing agencies, so they're able to just use their own resources to push marketing even harder and also bring it into other industries. Like I'm pretty well known in the e-commerce space. I'm not very well known in the marketing space. They're very well known in the marketing space. So things like that, able to kind of bring the same business model to different niches was a big proponent of it too.
Okay, yes. And it can be very interesting to have those conversations, regardless if you end up selling or not, because you have to come to agreement with terms and so on. And I can share on this side as well. It was a company wanted to acquire us. We have a chat with them, and they want to, like their game plan is to add us 4 key critical person. It's like, oh, we're going to give you money, go hire those 4 key critical persons. Like, okay, interesting game plan. I kind of agree with that game plan, but you don't have to sell. And then, of course, I was a small company back then. Go take a loan, hire the 4 critical person. Okay, here we're going. So it can be an interesting thing to have a chat with these guys. Sometimes, as if it's really a fit, you can sell if you are serious to sell. But at the same time, you can learn a lot just by talking to more experienced, larger companies and so on for this process.
Yeah, and one of the biggest keys, and this was the best advice that I got, was do due diligence on who you're selling it to, just like they're going to do it on you. And so when they were sending us over questions, we were sending questions back. We want to know everything about them, their plans for FreeeUp, their past purchases, their success, their failures, how they treat people, what their internal process are like. Like we want to know every little thing about them because we wanted to send it to someone. We wanted to sell the business to someone who is going to take good care of our clients, take good care of our team, honor their word, obviously pay us every penny. We didn't want to end up in a lawsuit with someone down the line over things. Like we wanted to sell it to really good people that had the same business values as us. And Mark Hargrove and David Martin are 2 great entrepreneurs that we look up to now. And through the process, you're still kind of crossing your fingers because you don't really know until you sign and see what they do. But they ended up honoring their word. They helped us promote new companies that we launched to their audience just to be nice. And they honored their word from a contract perspective, and they treat our team well. Our team's still there 2 years later, and we still talk to them and have a great relationship with them. So across the board, it ended up being a win-win.
Okay. And do you have any insights, like an opinion about high-level financial structure? For example, what's your opinion on earnouts and other kind of deals that may happen there, being paid over a few years versus how much upfront and so on, having shares perhaps in the mother company buying you out, or do you even keep a few shares in the older company that you're selling? Like, what's the high level view on the financial structure?
So my overall view is if we were going to sell the business, we were going to be done with it. We weren't going to stick around. We weren't going to be employees for a year. We weren't going to keep shares. We were going to sell it, move on to the next thing. And that was kind of our mentality, is we were going to make the best decision possible based on the information we had and move on with no regrets. But we didn't want to be a part of a business that we weren't leading and making decisions on. Obviously, the best case scenario is all cash up front. Most deals are not that way. There's some kind of earnout or something like that. You got to be careful. You got to treat earnout money as an extra that might not happen. And especially the thing that you don't want is the earnout to be tied to like specific performance things that are very hard to hit, because a lot of times you never see that money. So for us, I think we structure the earnout in a fair way that allowed us to make it all, and we got every penny of the earnout. I won't necessarily go into details, but we got most of the money up front, and the earnout was dependent on the business staying the same or growing over time. There wasn't like unrealistic KPIs like, hey, if the business doubles, like you'll get this or whatever. And I think that's where a lot of people went wrong. And we also had certain measures in there to protect us. And we knew going in, like, this is the minimum we'll get, this is the maximum we'll get. And we got to be okay with the minimum because we know the maximum is not guaranteed.
Right. So you went into the deal and the negotiation with a number in mind already. Like, I'm not selling below that. And I want, if I get this amount, yes, I sell, basically.
Yeah. And those were all initial conversations. And then, yeah, I mean, there was that. And then there was the LOI, the letter of intent. And then when we agreed to that, then it was 6 months of stress and the lawyers got involved, and it wasn't their fault. It wasn't our fault. The lawyers are doing their job. Our lawyers protecting us, their lawyers protecting them. And they're trying to dot every I and cross every T's. And to us, it's the biggest moment of our life. To the lawyers, it's another Tuesday. They got other stuff going on. Yeah. There's a lot of factors in there. And the biggest thing that we did, that another good piece of advice was, we stayed focused on growing the business. We said, this deal can fall through at any second. It's not guaranteed. If it does fall through, we want to have a good business to go back to. And the last month, November 2019, November 2019 was the best month that we had all 4 years of FreeeUp, because we stayed focused. And that was tough because every day of the 6 months, you're like, hey, is it going to be over? Is it going to be over? And my business partner and I kept each other focused on growing the business, even while going through that process.
Was there any other things that you've learned that impact the valuation that were sort of a surprise to you? Maybe I've heard many cases, maybe you were already familiar with this, but I've heard many cases that of business owners not knowing about add backs. They just take their balance sheet, their profit and loss statement as is. They make X amount of dollar. They think that's it. Multiply that by whatever, 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever, depending on business model, recurrence, and all that. But they often don't know there's a lot of stuff you can add back there. This was a special expense. You can remove it from there, amortize it over 5, 10 years or whatever is relevant, which will increase your real P&L, profit and loss result there. Other things like cash back from credit card expenses, like that 1.5%, you can put it back in there and increase all kind of little things that they add up, because then you multiply it by whatever's your sales multiplier.
Yeah, we were told about add backs. We run pretty like lean, frugal businesses that don't spend a lot of money on things that aren't relevant to the business. I would say the one thing that was an add back is just the conferences. I went to a lot of conferences through the 4 years of FreeeUp. That was the big add back. Was it like very significant? Not really compared to what other people might have there, but that was definitely a factor of it. I wouldn't say that was a deciding factor or anything.
Right, because you are investing in yourself as the entrepreneur, and the business is paying you all those business trips that you go learn all those conferences. But if you kept it clean bookkeeping, as you said, and you have all that in a neat line, you could just scratch out the line, add this back to profit, multiply by whatever, 3, 5, something. And it's an interesting additional free money there.
Exactly.
So what else should people know? And I really like what you said, that like, hey, this deal can fall through at any time. So make sure you keep running a clean business in the meantime. So anything else that people should know about selling their company?
Yeah, we made sure our team was taken care of. That was a big part of it. We made sure our clients were taken care of and followed up with them. We stayed in touch with the owners. They came to us with different questions and advice and ran stuff by us before they made changes, which they didn't have to do. And we wanted FreeeUp to succeed. We wanted our team to be treated well. We wanted our clients to be happy. We obviously wanted the new owners to be happy with the deal. And for us, it was about like relationships. Like, they were taking a risk. We were taking a risk. It was life-changing for us. It's probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. But at the time, it's a lot of anxiety and stress, and you never really know how it's going to go down. So having that relationship and honesty and communication component is very important.
Awesome. So, and once the deal did go through, you got paid. Like, what's next? Had you already started working on your next project, or did you go chill on the beach for 3 months? What happened there?
We didn't have a next project. We were very focused on FreeeUp for 4 years, and we didn't know if the deal was actually going to go through. I mean, it was incredible at the time, like life-changing money and all that. The sad part was we had to tell our team, and that was very emotional, and we let them go, although we gave them a lot of money in the sale as well. And I mean, shortly after that, the pandemic hit, which was kind of crazy. So the original plan was take a lot of time off. I didn't think I would see my business partner, Connor, for a year or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the pandemic hit, we were stuck inside, and we started brainstorming our next business ideas. And I mean, we're entrepreneurs. We love building businesses. My life is a lot chiller than it was through the 4 years of FreeeUp when I was hustling a lot and working weekends and working 80 hours a week. But I still love building businesses and kind of applying lessons that I've learned to hopefully do better in the future.
And what's the more normal business week for you now if it's not 80 hours anymore?
I work pretty close to a 40-hour week. Not that there aren't like certain things that I might work on here and there outside of normal hours, but I try to work on a 40-hour week. I also have a pretty I mean, I always work remote. We don't have offices, but like right after this, I'm going to go work out for an hour in the middle of the day. It's 11 a.m. for me. So like my business runs without me having to just be glued to my computer all the time. And yeah, we still like working hard. There's also times to work hard. Like we started EcomBalance earlier this year, and for the first few months, it was a lot of work. Now that we're set up and we have a big team, your role changes a little bit. So all kind of lessons we've learned.
All right. So to wrap this up, just a last opportunity. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, feel free to connect with me on social media. I love meeting other entrepreneurs. Nathan Hirsch on any channel. If you're interested in monthly bookkeeping, check out EcomBalance. If you're interested in all my hiring processes, check out Outsource School.
Awesome. Thank you for being here today, Nate.
Thanks for having me.